Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, it's finally here, the UFO video. So, let me just start this off by saying, as of the present day, the present UFOs, I have no reason to suspect that these are extraterrestrial. These are electro-propulsion devices. They are manipulating the ether. This device is most certainly military technology. There is most certainly a group of secret scientists working on these crafts every day. All the countries are in on it. All the countries are well aware of what's going on and are aware of this technology exists. And it's interesting that if all the countries are in on something, you know it's probably not good. So I'm going to be referencing the book Occult Ether Physics. Great book, okay? This is probably the best book that I've ever read in my life. It's about a guy. The guy who wrote it was growing up I think he was in New Mexico in the 50s, back when all the UFO experiments were going on by Area 51, and he would witness these every day, and he lived next door to an actual physicist, a professor, an electrical engineer who was telling him how this all worked. So this guy gives really good insight into the ether and how you can manipulate it using, Tesla technology. But before I get into the physics, I'll explain it next, but before we get into that, I do want to talk about how this was Tesla's patent. He called it his ideal flying machine. In the 20s, I think it was 1925, Tesla was really down on his dollar. He had no money, no funding or whatever, and all of his inventions leading up to the 20s were his goal was to build his ideal flying machine, the device that utilized electro-propulsion, so there's no inertia, no momentum, so you can instantly take off, instantly land, instantly change directions. All of his inventions were leading up to his ideal flying machine. So he knew this was really important, and he was trying to plead with the U.S. He was trying to say, hey guys, I have this invention, this will change the world, it'll change what you got, how we travel, all this stuff, and he got shut down. And he sold this technology to Germany in the 20s. So that's how the whole Nazi flying saucer thing came about. Now, something that is really interesting about UFOs as of recently, so let's go back 20, 30, 40, 50 years, If you saw a UFO and you claimed to have seen one, you were batshit crazy. You were a kook. You're a lunatic. Everyone hates you. You're disgusting. You're crazy. But the tide has changed, and the public opinion has changed on this. Fox News is talking about how, you see it every day. You guys know that the Navy sees UFOs, Fox News sees UFOs. They're all talking about it. So you got to wonder, what's up with the shift in opinion? What's causing that shift? Regardless of if you believe UFOs are real or not, there is no denying the shift of opinion. And you have to wonder why. So we need to talk about Bob Lazar. Bob Lazar had a very famous podcast with Joe Rogan. Bob Lazar, if you don't know, was one of the engineers who claimed to work at Area 51. He claimed that it was an archaeological discovery, and that, he would go in, him and his team would go in and try to reverse engineer it. He claimed people died. Let me tell you guys, he's all bullshit. He is a load of shit. He is in the CIA. He is a disinfo agent. He is a trained talker. UFOs and this whole thing has so much disinfo, more than anyone even realizes. Okay, so when we talk about UFOs, there's only two opinions that are allowed to exist. Okay, it's either that A, UFOs aren't real, or B, if they are real, they're extraterrestrial. And those are the only two opinions you're allowed to have. But the third obvious real opinion is that, humans are badass and probably made it ourselves. Now, with that being said, I am an ancient alien proponent. I'll have to get into that into another video, But I believe that Tesla probably got the idea from, the UFOs on ancient highway. I don't know how he got the idea, but I do believe that, these devices were probably used way back then, a pyramid poster, back in the Hermetic Society where the pyramids were electrical power plants. I do believe the power plants wirelessly transferred electricity to the UFOs. They were saying, William Line in Occult Ether Physics was saying that technically if you were creating a wireless power plant, right? So not even the pyramids. Let's just say, one of Tesla's Wardenclyffe towers that you reverse the longitudinal wave, so instead of going to the ground, you're going up into space. He was saying that you could probably go out really far into space, like, across the galaxy, and it would still be able to communicate with each other. That's how fucking powerful these longitudinal waves are. So, yes, I do believe that the pyramids probably did power ancient alien craft, and ever since we got reset, that's not been available. So that was Tesla's original idea, was he wanted to Tesla thought that weight was going to be a huge factor, before building his device. So his original design did not include his infinite energy generator that manipulates the ether. He did not want that on his design. He was going to use Wardenclyffe, to shoot the energy off, and he found that it was actually a lot better of a design. He found that weight didn't really matter as much as he thought it would, and he found that his energy needs, were more than sufficient with the generator on the actual craft itself. So before I can really talk about the specifics and how this works, we need to understand the ether and what the ether is and what it's doing and how we can manipulate it. So before I get into that, I do want to quote J.J. Thomson. He said that the ether is a powerhouse of mechanical momentum. And that's a bold claim, and he's right. So basically how the ether works is it's similar to, so let's go down into quantum space, right? So at a subatomic level, all these ether particles vibrate. They vibrate in and out of existence, and they permeate all space. Because normal atoms, so if there's a normal hydrogen atom, it will not permeate, it will not go through you, it will not go through solid mass because it's too big, but the ether is smaller than that, so the ether particle is able to permeate space. So this ether particle has a positive nucleus, and it has an electron orbiting outside of the nucleus, and in between these two, in between the electron orbit and the positive nucleus, is Tesla called it his fluid. It's very hard to penetrate this fluid, but penetrating this fluid and accessing the positive nucleus is the key to manipulating the ether to get momentum out of it. So once you're inside of the fluid, you can use the positive charge as William Line quotes it as an equal or opposite reaction that you can, cancel inertia with, essentially. So great, we know that we need a high voltage, high frequency oscillation to penetrate this fluid and to get to the positive charge to create our equal and opposite reaction. So how do we do it? The answer is through the Tesla turbine. I really encourage all of you to go read this patent. It's a brilliant invention. But essentially, it was a turbine that ran on air. So it used gases. So it was using the ether, right? So it would propel itself off not just air, but it would do hydrogen, nitrogen, the ether. So it would use the ether to create momentum and create a perpetual motion machine that got faster and faster. This thing would spin at crazy speeds, and Tesla had this turbine powered to an alternator that would give him all of his electrical necessities on the ship. And basically what this Tesla turbine did, though, is it created tubes of force. So we know that the ether is essentially just a bunch of tubes of force, as Michael Faraday said. And this turbine would sort of interact with these tubes of force, right? So it would create sort of an electromagnetic rope effect. So basically the ship's getting pulled along via the turbine. So like I said, think about it like an electromagnetic rope. So this fan's spinning really fast. It'll lock on to a distance, 1,000 miles away, and zip, you'll get pulled over there through this turbine. So he found that the gravitational potential and kinetic force of the turbine that was created by this chemical reaction, again, was 10 to the 40 times stronger than gravity. So that's what we're using. So when people say, when rats like Bob Lazar, fuckheads like Neil deGrasse Tyson, probably doesn't even endorse it, but fuck Neil deGrasse Tyson, rats like that say, oh, it's anti-gravity, oh, it's so complicated, we don't know, it's so hard to understand. Fuck you. It is not hard to understand. This is an electrical propulsion device manipulating the ether using a Tesla turbine and a few alternators. Okay, that's all it is. Thank you all for watching. I really appreciate all the love I've been getting in the comments. And to the physicists who don't believe what I'm saying, go fuck yourself. I don't give a fuck. I'm right. Results speak. So, thanks for watching. I love y'all. Please subscribe if you enjoy the content. Stay tuned for more. Making a pyramid video and the physics of how that all works, alright? Stay tuned.